artists, I'm Miss Kim. Welcome to Drawstrings. I'm super excited for this episode today. I know I probably say that every time, but I just love the animal kingdom. I love birds, I love bugs, I love all that fun stuff, all these living creatures. So, today we are drawing a hummingbird. We are drawing a hummingbird which was requested by a young man in Northeast Ohio. His name is Grayson Burt, and he has been following the show with his mom. So we wanted to give him a shout out and say, hey Grayson, today we are drawing a hummingbird thanks to Grayson Burt, and we're going to get started because it's going to be a lot. And I know you can handle it. There's just a lot of colors when it comes to a hummingbird. So we have an entire array today. We have a little bit of red for the beak. We have some greens. We have some blues and some violet blues. As always, we have white and black, even though sometimes we don't get to white because we just run out of time, and that's okay. Today, we're gonna start with a cool gray pencil. It's not a hot gray, it's not scalding, it's a cool gray. So, let's turn this camera around and get started on our hummingbird drawing today, and I'll see ya on the other side. Okay, so let's start this out, shall we? We are going to start with what Miss Kim always likes to start with, which is the eyeball. So we have our cool gray pencil. We're going to zoom in a little bit here, and I'm going to start, it's a rounded eyeball. So it's not like a pancake of an eyeball or an almond of an eyeball. It's kind of rounded, so we have that going on. And even the hummingbird has those little light reflections in its eye. So we have a few little reflections in there, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's 3 light reflections in there. How is that even going to fit in there? It's so tiny. Well, nature finds a way. So we're going to color that in really quick, have that eyeball there, and then it does have a little bit of a lid around the eye of the hummingbird, and that lid is covered in little protective feathers. So let's just draw, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and even some of these lines are touching where I'm drawing it, but that's okay, because we're going to color this in later anyway. So we have a circle, and then 3 little circles inside the circle, and then another circle on the outside. You're like, Miss Kim, how many circles can a person draw? Well, apparently at least 5. So we have the eyeball, and then what we're going to do is we're going to draw a little bit of a line out to the right of the eyeball. Oh, and as far as starting on the piece of paper, you want to be more to the right of the piece of paper. Miss Kim got a little too excited and drew a little bit too big, so she has 2 pieces of paper going on just to make up the difference. But if you want to be a little bit more diligent than she has been, you can start a little bit to the right of the paper and actually get the image on 1 piece. So we're going to draw this a little bit to the right here. And then we're going to stop because that's kind of where the beak starts. So the beak on the face of the hummingbird, it doesn't start right at the end of the face. The beak actually comes into the face a bit. So with the beak straight across from the eyeball to the right, hi John, we're going to take our pencils and draw a straight long line to about there. And then we're going to make a point at the end, and then we're going to bring this line all the way back to where we started on the face. And like I said before, the beak comes into the face, the feathers of the face here, just kind of like how our mouths indent on our face. It doesn't just stick straight out if you look at somebody from a profile. So that's what we're doing here with the beak as well, and we can draw a little divider inside because that helps us differentiate the top of the beak from the bottom of the beak, because at some point when the hummingbird goes to feed or to speak, it does open these 2. All right, and then with the beak here, we're going to start the face a little bit like outside, or a little bit further along the beak, so the face doesn't start right here, remember? The face starts a little bit further down the beak because part of the face does have the beak sitting inside of it. So we're going to come down, draw this part of the head of the hummingbird. Bees are cool too. I really like honeybees. Actually, maybe that's a great idea for next season. Maybe draw like a little cute little honeybee. So we're going to draw the face, the bottom part of the face here that comes down into the neck area just a little bit, and we just draw a little bit of that line. And then we're going to come up and around the beak to the top of the head. There we go. And where we start here on the beak is going to match on either side. So if we started here on the beak, we're going to sort of just draw a slight line up and then start at the same distance. So the distance where the bottom part of the face starts is the same on the beak as the top part of the face. And then we're going to come up and around the eye and sort of curve it back down, which is a little bit further down than where the eye and the beak sit. So this line's a little bit further down. We're going to draw a little bit of a curved lumpy line, a big lump, a little lump, and then that's where that stops, because that's where we get into the wings, the primary and the secondary wing on the hummingbird. So let's go straight out. You know what? Let's go for it. We're going to go for the wing, which is longer than what we've just drawn here from the shoulder to the tip of the beak. So keep that in mind, because it's going to look like it's coming really far out and away from the body. So we're going to start here in the shoulder area of the hummingbird, and we're going to draw a little bit of a curved line that flows all the way out, and then we're going to curve it down a little bit like that, and then we're going to stop there. Now, when we come to the end of this wing here, we're going to make a series of little lumpy lines, because that will signify each feather. And then we're going to bring all these lumpy lines back into the body of the hummingbird. So bear with me. We're going to start at the end here. We already have 1. We're going to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and these are getting a little bit shorter as we get closer to the body, so keep that in mind. Hi, Conrad. So these little lump shapes that signify the feathers, they're getting a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter as we find our way back to the body of the hummingbird. I lost count. Do you guys remember what count we're on? I'll let you do that for me. So once we get to this last shape here, we're going to bring the feather up and back towards the shoulder of the hummingbird. There we go. Scalloped, that's a great word, John, and maybe a great one to draw. I don't know. Hi, Connie. All right, there we go. So now that we have the primary outline of this front wing here, we're going to draw the body part underneath it so that we can connect the second wing, which is behind the body of the hummingbird. So where we left off with this wing, we're going to start with this line here, and we're going to make a curved line that sort of leans back towards the face here, that goes in this same direction as the beak. And that's going to stop. It's going to abruptly stop just like that. This line is going to come in here into the body of the hummingbird. And it kind of looks like this little pocket here, kind of like maybe an anthill or a pyramid, whatever you'd like to call it, whatever it looks like to you. All right, and then we're going to take this line and come up and around the body, and we're going to end up a little bit under the chin here. So if this is where the neck of the hummingbird is, this line is going to be a little bit further out. It's going to encapsulate the neck area and wind up like under the chin of the hummingbird. So what do we do now? Well, there's a lot still to do. So I'm going to make a decision, an executive decision. We're going to come back and start with the second wing underneath the top wing, this primary wing. And it's going to be at a little bit different of an angle. So when you draw that line coming out from maybe like, that's like 2/3 of the way down on the wing, it's going to come out a little bit. And it's going to be at an angle that doesn't really match this shape here, but it sort of matches the way we're going to draw on these feathers here. So we're going to do these little scalloped lines again. 1, 2, hey Christy, 3, hey Malachi, 4, hey Koopa, 5, just giving a shout out, 6, 7, 8, 9, yeah, we'll do 10. So there we go. All right, now that we have headed back to this body area here, remember, if this is too fast for you, because you guys, this is a lot of information all at once, and I'm really proud of how everyone has been keeping up. So if this is too much information for you, I do have all my videos posted on my page. You can go back and watch them anytime. I tend to clean up my timeline from other posts every few days so that they're readily available. So now that we're back to the body here, we're going to start where, remember where this pocket was, where we drew this little pyramid shape here? We're going to come to the end of this here, and we're going to draw some more feathers that sort of drop down. So again, more feathery shaped, more scalloped shapes. These are a little pointed at the end. And you guys, we only have 3 more days of drawstrings this season. We only have 4 more episodes, so we have 3 more episodes and then a special season finale that's coming up. So I will keep you posted on all that, but we are coming to the end of the season, which is super exciting because there's going to be some stuff I get done over the summer to bring you, and then we're going to start back up again in fall. But we only have a few more episodes this season, so it's super nice to see everybody here today. All right. Now that we have these little dropped feathers here at the bottom of the tummy of the hummingbird, we're going to draw some feathers around it, really encapsulate this area where we're going to keep the feathers white. So we're going to come back to the outside of this pyramid shape here and start drawing in feathers, one right next to each other. And they do get a little bit longer as they come out this way. So just as you are drawing in, be aware of that. All right. There's another feather shape. We're going to keep doing a few more. And they're kind of ending with a little bit of a point. These longer feathers are ending with a little bit of a more of a pointed edge as opposed to a scallop shape. All right, and then we have a few secondary feathers behind there. All right, we're almost done with this cool hummingbird outline. We do have to go back a little bit and get to these wings so we can draw in the lines of the feathers. So first off, what we're going to do is we're going to get to this little portion of the wing here that has smaller feathers on it. And it's a little less than halfway, maybe a third of the way down the wing. So it is closer to the body. And this will be the first set of tiny feathers because there are different layers of feathers on the hummingbird wing. So this is the first set. And then we're going to have the second set, which are just smaller feathers, all kind of close to each other, just like that. There we go. So these little feathers are coming off the smaller feather patch that's here on the wing. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start with our larger lines and just fill in these boundaries of these larger feathers. So what I'm doing is starting from the indentation of each scallop, these little lumps at the end, the feathers, the scallop shapes, where each one indents, which means comes inward, where each one comes into a point, I'm starting a line that takes the feather all the way back to its, quote, home at the beginning of the wing. So do you see here? I'm not starting it from like the fat outer area. I'm starting it from the indentation of each outline. Okay. So we're going to draw on those feathers quick. Excuse me. There we go. And now let's do the same thing going up and underneath this second wing here. So these are primary feathers on the hummingbird. These are secondary feathers. So let's get in these lines of feathers real quick here, because we still have a lot to do. Not to worry you, but there's a lot, you know, for a very small bird. It's a very complicated bird. It has a lot going on. All right, so we have the basic outline of the hummingbird. We are going to start in, I have my black colored pencil here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and look at my reference. So we're going to lightly color in the rest of the eyeball on this hummingbird. And I'm outlining it a little bit darker. There we go. And then I am going to also outline the line going around these little line of feathers, this protective lid around the hummingbird. And then this coloring goes all the way to the outside of the beak. Just like this. There you go. And that darker coloring comes down beneath the eye. These darker little feathers here. And if you want to do like a really cool, if you want to have it look like feathers, but obviously you're not going to take the time to draw on each one, you can cross hatch. Cross hatching is making lines one way and then coming back and drawing them a little separate the other way, so that when you zoom out, it looks a little bit more like feathers. You have a little bit more texture. So we're kind of doing that, and you can draw them in lighter and then draw some darker over them. But just so long as we get these colors in here, we're going to have a little bit of darker color up and around the dome of the hummingbird head, the top of its head here. And I really like this cross hatching, so you guys should try this at home. The cross hatching is working out really well, actually, to illustrate quick feathers on a hummingbird. So we're just doing cross hatching, which is lines one way and then lines the opposite way, coming back and over the initial lines. We're going to darken the shoulders a little bit, just because that's what the small feathers on there are showing us. So as far as the shading and everything goes. And then up under the neck, we're going to get a little bit darker as well. There we go. So again, with the cross hatching, I'm just sort of going choo 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 one way, choo 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 the other way, up into the beak. Very nice. All right, and we're going to do this down the body a little bit too. Cross hatch, cross hatch, cross hatch, cross hatch. That's a hard word to say 3 times in a row. You should try it. Okay, so we're getting in the shading on the body. I know Miss Bexley, if she were here, she'd be like, come on, Miss Kim, get on with the shading already. I'm so tired of this. But shading is actually my favorite part. Shading is so fun. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but it does end up being quite the adventure because of what you can accomplish with just like darker and lighter hues and contrast. Okay, so we're doing a little bit of shading inside the body. Well, you know what else needs shading on the hummingbird? It's gigantic wings. They're not gigantic wings, but compared to, you know, in comparison to the size of the body of a hummingbird, they are pretty large. So let's start in here. We're going to cross hatch a little bit of wing shading, feathers here. I'm so excited to sing the song for you guys today too. Wrote a really cool, edgy song about hummingbirds. I never really know how theirs are going to turn out, and then they just, you know, they take on a life of their own. So we have a little bit of cross hatching inside this base wing. We're going to darken up these feathers, these secondary feathers, these smaller feathers. And make sure the dividing lines are prominent, which means that they're a little bit darker than the rest of the feather color that you're coloring in, that you're shading. All right, looking good, looking good. So we're coloring in these really quickly. Really quickly, we're coloring in these small feathers. All right. Getting these down. Very nice, very nice. So we have those all nice and colored in. We can darken up some of these primary feathers as well, because it is underneath the body, that wing area, so they are shaded a little bit darker. And then, because this wing at this angle is behind this bigger wing, this is going to be a little bit darker than the top wing as well, because it is receiving less light, at least from the angle we're looking at it from. So we can darken that up real quick. And by real quick, I mean, you know, at your own pace. Again, if this is too fast for you, I have all my previous videos on my timeline. This one will be added there as well. And we have 3 more episodes this season, plus a season finale, a very special season finale. That is going to be a surprise. So you guys can guess what that's going to be if you'd like. Or you can just let it be a surprise. I always like spoilers, so I would want to know, but everyone's different. So again, we're just going lightly over these wings here with a black colored pencil, and you can see it's getting a little bit lighter as we're going in as well. So these outer wings started off darker, and then as we moved in towards the body, they ended up getting a little bit lighter. So let's use a little bit more of our black colored pencil before we move on. We're going to go to this top wing here, and we're just going to shade in. And really, we could shade in the whole thing if we wanted, but I'm just going to leave it where I'm going to get to another color. So again, just going over this really lightly and not really hitting like the base of these wings. It's just darker coming out from the smaller wings, or the smaller feathers on the wing. I think I said wings when I meant feathers. So please forgive me being silly. Surprise, surprise. All right, and then we're just coloring into these bottom wings here. Okay, so let's get to these base wings really quickly. Real quick, just draw 3 little lines right there, and then another 3 little lines right here to illustrate the feet of the hummingbird real quick. I have 2 double-sided black pencils now, John, so I finally listened to your recommendation. It takes me a while. I'm stubborn, but that's okay. All right, so we're coloring in these base wings, these tail wings. That's what I should say, but I didn't, but I will now. These tail wings. We're coloring these in with a little bit of a darker color. We have this little bit of a black colored pencil going on still. There we go. Coloring these in, and we're going to go with a blue colored pencil over like all of this. So we're going to switch it out here in a minute. Hope you're all sticking with me, and I hope I get to see your drawings. If you have any drawings and you'd like to share them with me, please either send them to me yourself if you're an adult, or have your mom and dad send them to me. I'd love to see the pictures of your drawings. They make me so happy. All your drawings have been so excellent, and you're all such wonderful artists. All right, so I'm putting down this black colored pencil. Finally, you're like, Miss Kim, move on to the color. We're going to start using this blue. It's a really vibrant, it says, what does it say? Blue marine. So we're going to start coloring up and under the chin. And we can color right over this black cross hatching here. All the way up to underneath the beak. And a little bit on top of the beak as well. We're not going to color around the eye area because that's going to end up being a different color. But we are going to bring this blue down. And then up underneath the chin area here is going to get hit with some pockets of blue. Some pockets of blue color. Blue color pencil. Up and around the shoulder. There we go. a little bit of shading on the tummy. We're going to hit these tail feathers with some poppin' blue. And I'm coloring right over the black and gray. It actually gives it like a really nice dimension. So, don't worry about, you know, mixing colors, blending colors. It's kind of like the more the merrier, mostly. So just get right in there. Get rid of any white spaces. Color that in with some blue. See how I'm pressing down really hard with the pencil lead here on these feathers that are sort of behind the main tail feathers, because that just helps illustrate that they are indeed behind these main feathers that are getting more light, getting more exposure. Just a little trick of the trade. Getting that in there. Very nice. Now, let's switch over to more of like an aqua blue, a little bit of a lighter blue, because that's what these feathers here on the face sort of evolve into. They go from a darker, more solid blue to kind of an aquamarine blue. Down into the tummy area, around the body. And again, these are just really light. I'm turning my pencil sideways and just using the side of the pencil with really quick, like back and forth motion to color a lot of area in a little bit of time. There we go. And we can even add some of this light blue on the feathers there, the tail feathers. And we can move back to these big old feathers and get some blue on the tips of these feathers here. It's where I drew off the paper, so it's a little bit clumsy. Very silly of me. There we go. There we go. Just get in some color there. There we go. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as we're sort of covering up any white spaces, it's just going to look more professional and much nicer and more cohesive as one image. So let's move on to a little bit of greens, because greens are showing up in these small feathers here off the wing. There we go. Looking good, looking good. And then off the wing and into the feathers of the body. Down and around the tummy. Up and onto the head, above the eye. See, we left that blank for a reason. It's because it ended up being a different color. Just coloring that in. Just lightly covering these surfaces. I'm going to switch to a little bit of a darker green for some contrast and just doing some cross hatching on the wing. And then also just adding some contrast on the inside of the body here. Maybe add a little accent to the bottom of these larger feathers, because why not? We're here, right? So, gonna get that done. Go back to a little bit of a lime green to get a little highlight in there. Woo! Blending all over the place. Look at that. That's really popping with color now. And again, I'm just taking this lime green and I'm going over everything, like the black, the blue, the light blue, the dark green. This lime green is just a real wild card. So, we're almost done with our hummingbird. What we need to do now is just quickly take our little red and just do a little accent on this cute little beak here. And then, really, aside from a few little more outlines, we're all done for the day. What do you guys think? Did you have fun drawing a hummingbird? If you did, and even if you didn't, I'd still love to see the drawings, so please send them my way. I'm going to turn the camera around and we are going to sing a song about hummingbirds. Hi guys! I hope you have fun today drawing a hummingbird. They're one of my favorite, they're probably my favorite bird. Owls might be a close second, which is coming up next. If you wanted to follow along on your own, at your own pace, on your own time, all these videos are on my timeline. We have 3 more episodes of Drawstrings this season, plus a very special season finale. So please, if you would like to catch up on anything, please join me now, because we will be starting back up. After a couple weeks, we'll be starting back up in the fall, in September. So I'm so happy that you have decided to spend your time with me learning to draw. We're going to sing a song that has facts about a hummingbird. Give me 1 second. I have to get my notes and my guitar. Ooh. Drawing is hard work, but so fun. Maybe I have no sense of smell. I weigh less than a nickel, but I'm a big deal, big deal. I perch with my tiny legs. I can't walk at all. Still I'm a big deal, big deal. Welcome to a hummingbird education. Smallest migrating bird in the nation. Don't migrate in flocks like other species. For hundreds of miles, yeah, it's just me. No sense of smell to sniff out my meals. I am unable to smell the flowers. That's okay though, because I have vision. So good it's like a superpower. Maybe I have no sense of smell, and I weigh less than a nickel, but I'm a big deal, big deal. I perch with my tiny legs, but I can't walk at all. Still I'm a big deal, big deal. The eggs that I lay are the size of a jelly bean. Average heart rate per minute is 1,200 beats. I fly 60 miles per hour when I dive. There's a bee hummingbird, but they don't live in a hive. Maybe I have no sense of smell, and I weigh less than a nickel, but I'm a big deal, big deal. I perch with my tiny legs, but I can't walk at all. Still I'm a big deal, big deal. What's the only bird that can fly backwards? It's a hummingbird, it's a hummingbird. What's the only bird that can fly backwards? It's a hummingbird, a hummingbird. Bird only the walks backwards like can that. It's a hummingbird, a hummingbird. Maybe I have no sense of smell, and I weigh less than a nickel, but I'm a big deal, big deal. I perch with my tiny legs, but I can't walk at all. Still I'm a big deal, big deal. Big deal, big deal. All right, guys.